I went mad at Mr. Price. I spent a whole fiver.
Oh, Vanessa, we're live now. So, hello and welcome to Broadsheet on the Telly. Happy St. Patrick's Week. My name is John Preposterous Ryan. A big welcome to Broadsheet readers, commentators, trolls, and whatever you have in yourself. Big hello to Vanessa Foran. Hello, Vanessa. Happy St. Patrick's weekend. And hello to Neil.
How are you?
Hello, Neil.
How's it going?
You're wearing your green blanket tonight?
I have my green blanket, my patriotic green blanket tonight because I don't know.
We were hoping to go live to Washington, but we were unable to at the moment.
The feed is down. I think it sucked all our juice having Brendan Ogle on last week, so trying to reestablish the link.
Yeah, the ESB sort of are messing us about. Neil, perhaps you could tell us what happened today with Leo Varadkar. He's got in some trouble.
Well, he had a great day to start it all off. He met with President Trump, and they were having great crack. And he told a story about the last time he was in Washington. He wasn't allowed in the Oval Office because he wasn't important enough. And President Trump was saying, "Well, you're here now," and all that crack. And he extended the invite that Enda Kenny had given to Trump about coming to Ireland, and Trump, said it's a lovely country and a lovely people, and he'd love to come over sometime soon. But then, as they having a bit of banter, then Leo then said he forgot to tell the story about how he first encountered Trump, and he was a minister. He was a minister at the Times a few years ago. And the old Doombeg wasn't long open, and sure wasn't there talk of a wind farm being built in Clare that could ruin the tourism and the landscape. Oh, geez,
on the western seaboard.
You wouldn't be getting a birdie on the fort if there was a big wind farm in the background. So
would the wind farm have been visible from his the golf course?
I imagine so, and it would have been blown the balls off course. It would have been disaster all around. But anyway, Leo got a call to say Mr. Trump is on the line for you, and he thought it was a wind-up. So he told this story. He thought it was a wind-up, and Mr. Trump was asking for him to check out this planning permission that he'd been refused. So Leo said he'd make a few calls. He made a few calls. And of course, on Blur Pranola or whoever it was, Clare County Council had refused the planning and was upheld by On Board Planola. So it looks like Leo didn't exert any influence, but the controversy, of course, was what was the minister doing? Potentially making a few phone calls about it. So it kind of took a bit of a chink in his armor to wind up the day, and it's now the headlines. One of the main headlines in the papers now. So expect lots of argy-bargy over the next few days about this. Because if he's admitting to making that phone call, what other phone calls has he made?
Who, Trump or Leo?
Leo. Well, Leo.
Oh, you mean which call now? Sorry, I'm a little confused. He was called by Trump about the.
He was called by Trump direct, and he thought it was a wind-up because he figured Trump wouldn't make those calls cold. Trump told him it's predicament, and Leo said he'd make a few calls or something to that effect. The video, this is not this is not big secret. He admitted this in his speech today, but the planning was turned down anyway. So it looks like there was no influence that he could have exerted.
Sorry, did he make those calls then? He's saying.
Yeah, I think he was going to reach out, or he did reach out, but I think the decision had already been made at that point, or something to that effect. But the controversy being the fact that, what was a minister doing, acting on behalf of a private businessman? Sure,
like if we phoned Leo now, he wouldn't divulge or help us in any way on a personal level. No. So,
well, he's in the US, so he's probably not going to be able to do much for Stair anyway, John. I'm sure he would if he was.
Well, this is probably the only thing he can feasibly help out with kind of wind farms and golf courses and things. But do you have Can you tee up the video, Neil?
The TV, it won't stream over the thingy, but if you go to any of the main news sites, it's up on the RTE front page at the moment. I think it's on journal.ie as well, of the ones I've checked. It's on. I was surprised to see it front and center on the RTE news site, but it's there. Yeah, anyone wants to check it out after the show.
We should have had it. We'll put it up now in about the next half an hour or so. Some of us
Yeah,
were
it's pretty
asleep.
fresh news.
Some of us were asleep for the night for some reason. So,
Oh, is John gone on us? There he is.
what? Have I left you?
I thought we thought you'd missed. Well, I thought you'd gone. No, sorry. Continue.
Vanessa, I want to
Let's
ask.
talk about wind.
Yeah, no, I wanted to ask about the lady behind you.
Yes, thank you, John. This is a lady known as Big Lil or Lillian Balaka. 50 years ago, February 50 years ago, there was what's known as the Hull triple trawler tragedy. Now bear with me, lads. In early January, or maybe the second week of January 1968, a trawler went down in the North Sea and all 20 hands were lost. And nobody knew about it or heard about it. And a search didn't start until about 2 weeks later.
Okay.
And it was out of Hull, and all the hands were from Hull. And then very shortly after, like almost when they started searching for one trawler, another trawler went down, and all hands were lost on that as well. I think of the name, I'm going to call it the Kingston Peridot was the second trawler that went down. And then a week or two later, another trawler went down, and another 19, 20 hands were all lost. And these trawlers had no radio operators or first aid, and they were just badly run. So Big Lil organised what is known as the headscarf protest, or she was the leader of the headscarf revolution, where the women of Hull took to the streets to demand better conditions for the trawler men sailing or out of Hull. It was the busiest fishing port in Western Europe at the time, or possibly even in the world. They used to fish into the North Sea, what they say is the most dangerous fishing in the world. Right. So it became known as the Hassel Street protest, which was the area they were all from, and they marched on the ship, the trawler owners, and some of the footage that's available, kind of pretty much you have the boat owners looking down their nose at these working class women taking on the men. Mm-hmm. So shortly afterwards, anyway, they got a meeting in Downing Street, and they went in, these women, and they went in with 84 requests, and they got all 84, what's called the Fisherman's Charter, granted. Harold Winson had a private meeting with her, and they got all 84. So from then on, all the boat trawlers that left Hull all had radio operators. There was what's known as a hospital ship looking after the fleet when they were out at sea, and conditions generally improved for the trawlers. And then, of course, there's no fishing fleet out of Hull that have that significance anymore. But that's Big Lil, and the reason why I wanted people to know about her is because nobody does know about her. And I came across her on a BBC4 documentary, and I was fascinated by it. So I looked into it, and I found out now Maxine Peake is after writing a play to mark the 50th anniversary of the headscarf revolution. So that's Big Lil.
Okay, Big Lil, thank you.
Yeah, and interestingly, well, if it's of interest, when the lady died in 1988, this documentary was interviewing a man that knew her, and he said he saw that she died, and he assumed when he went to the church that there would be thousands there, and actually it was only family turned up, but she had changed the lives of fishermen forever in that thing. But it's mad to think that trawlers would go out to sea and be missing for 2 weeks before anyone would have a search.
Right, yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that, Vanessa. I want to go. Hello, Johnny. Well, welcome, Johnny Keenan.
Hello, John. Hi, Neil. Hi, Vanessa.
Hi,
hey, Johnny.
I just came in on the end of that. Yeah, John, really Sorry, I'm there at one time.
Sorry, Johnny, can you give us 1 second? I just want to go back to Neil. Neil, could you share that Brendan Howland tweet?
Give us the old access there, John, and I'll pull it up on screen.
Johnny,
you want to talk to Johnny there, and I'll find it.
Yeah, of course, Johnny. You were at the DIT last night for a discussion on the legalization of cannabis as it relates to Colorado. Are you there, Johnny?
Yeah, I am, John. You hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, yeah.
You were at the DIT.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, empowering is the word, John, with an exclamation mark.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, love it.
But quickly, just on Vanessa's one, you had her up last week, Vanessa, I think.
I did, yeah.
You didn't get a chance to talk about her. Yeah, very striking woman. And I only caught that end of your story, so yeah. The headscarf revolution, that's where it comes from. I was always interested.
Yeah, the headscarf. Yeah, but if anyone gets a chance to see if they can find the BBC4 documentary on the headscarf revolutionaries, it's a fantastic story. I did it no justice at all. But she's just one of these women that nobody knows about. Yeah.
Oh, you did it justice, Vanessa. No, you did.
You did. I'm intrigued because that's the kind of revolution that's going to be built around strong women like that. They were usually forgotten. So
and there's a great, Johnny, there's a great addition to that story is when they were making their protest, they used to go down to the docks, and if the boat going out didn't have a radio operator or a first aid man, or they would try and stop the boat. And they can see her. Actually, I probably have a photograph. I'll pull it up there of her trying to get on the trawlers as they were pulling out. And the footage of it is lovely and it's very sincere. But I just thought it was sad that nobody turned up to her funeral. Literally, only family members.
When was it? When did she pass?
I suppose, according to the history there, it's 1988 she died.
Right. And it was during the 50s then where she was prominent.
No, 1968. The triple hull trawler disaster. Yeah. The 3 trawlers went down in a very short space of time, and it was weeks before anyone realised they were missing because there was no radio operators on board. So, what I found striking about it really was that she marched down to Downing Street. And I think the number is 84 requests, and they got all 84 to be implemented onto the fishing fleet.
Charter.
The charter. That's right. Yeah.
Sorry, forgive me, Vanessa. May I? We just go back to the Leo Varadkar story. Neil, this is a tweet from Brendan Howland.
Yeah, so you can see it on screen there. Taoiseach should not be meddling in planning at Doonbeg or interfering with President Trump's private business interests. And he goes on down. A couple of people tweet back, obviously, and he says he'll raise it in the Dáil. So we're certainly going to be hearing this for the next the next while, anyway. That's for sure.
Wow, what an absolute blunder!
It's just indicative of the man. He just has no leadership credentials.
He was going to do this anyway, John. You said you were sending me over to Washington to make sure I'd be able to advise his heads. I couldn't get to them. I don't think anyone can get them. I don't think Stephen Hawkins, if he came back, would be able to get to them.
No, Johnny. Johnny.
No, I feel that I think the word is immaturity here.
By me? I'm going to thank her.
In a very sort of major way. Even the way he speaks about things like, I thought they were taking the piss, and his sense of the colloquial is all wrong because of his robotic elements refuse to allow him to have that as a natural sort of asset. But I find, well, I don't want to give my opinion too much. Neil, what's your opinion?
I agree. It was the same in England when he was over with Theresa May back in the early days, and he made that silly speech. Actually, I mean, you can, on one hand, and I don't like the guy, but on one hand, you get kind of sense the humility of it. But I mean, I suppose, how long does it take to get to up your game as president of a country? I mean, it's still what? How long has he held that seat? This is his first big. I mean, imagine the nerves and the spotlight on him as well. Not that it's justifying the planning thing, but just in terms of how he presents himself.
Well, sorry, Neil. I could just only assume that he thinks that it was all right to make those calls.
Well, he obviously does if he's sharing it on such a massive public forum, which makes you wonder what else he thinks is all right.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'd say Starbucks are probably calling them now at the moment to sort out their planning issues.
Is there any, just on the reaction to say Brendan Calvin's tweet? I mean, he didn't waste time, did he? Getting the boot in. Can we just have a look? Could we have a look at that?
We can, yeah.
Sorry,
I closed it down. Can you fill the noise there, John?
Your poor blanket looks so. You look like sort of a Charlene. Like the headscarf revolution, but the shawl revolution.
Well, you know, this is how I celebrate the Welshman every year. I stick an American knitted blanket around me.
Last night, and
yeah, sorry, John, you did ask me that. I beg your pardon.
The School of Law had a conference called High Times about looking at how Colorado, the example of Colorado, and how it might pertain to Ireland.
Exactly. And first thing first, where did I hear the news? Broadsheet. Where else? Anything that's relevant is on the BS. And I read the thread. I read the thread, and I think around 20 comments, and I think I added one to it because I was so happy with it, that everyone was actually agreeing with each other on a broadsheet thread that legalization of cannabis is an imminent thing. It's a good thing. Let's come together and feel all right. All that vibe. That's exactly happening in Colorado. And all along the West Coast, from Seattle to San Diego. It's all covered. And then a few states in between, which is Colorado, which is around Midwest. And then New York and New Jersey, and then Maryland, Vancouver. The richest state in America, whatever it is, over there on the east side, Maryland.
Canada, anyway.
Oh yeah, no, I think California is the richest, but this one is the richest on the east side. Right. All the liberal states are coming together. So there's basically what the guy was saying, Niall, and really sound head, and spent an hour just basically talking about the economics and the health benefits and how America are dealing with it and how they're looking to get into Europe, and Portugal and Spain are the other parties, Holland obviously, and then Lithuania in Eastern Europe are really putting money into hemp. So just talking about the product of green hemp and then the byproducts of that from medicinal and financial, obviously. And health-wise, it just was perfect sense. You know, I've been around these meetings for around 10 years, and it was always the old chestnut, at least the hard drugs. But now it's been proven beyond reasonable doubt that it cures forms of cancer, it cures arthritis, it alleviates an awful lot of chronic pain for an awful lot of people with an awful lot of conditions. Yes. So, you know, that argument, having to listen to it for so many years, it was refreshing to hear a legal. And this guy is a barrister, and I forget his second name.
His name is Nelligan.
Nelligan. Yeah. Nelligan, is it? Yeah.
Nelligan, yeah. And
so
we actually hope to have him on the show next week. So
420 special.
For 420 special. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, for the early 420 special.
An early 420. Okay, yeah. Blaze it up early at the BS. Sorry. I like it.
Sorry, so that was it. Sorry, Johnny. What thread are we talking about?
Oh, this is the legalized cannabis one. It's a thread called Free Tomorrow.
High Times. Yeah.
I was the program. It was an event held by the DIT Law School. I think is a professor Niall Nelligan, or maybe
he is. Yeah, professor there of law.
Was it today or yesterday, Johnny?
Yesterday.
All right. Sorry, I missed it. Sorry, lads.
Okay.
In Angel Street. So it was very straight, matter of fact, and as I say, it was facts. It was statistics. It took them a long while to get them, but they're concrete stats, and you can really just go anywhere with them. And I think, sorry,
the hysteria was the tax take the big chunk of it.
It kind of was, you know, in relation to where that money would go if it was regulated and taxed. For example, the hospital crisis wouldn't be half as bad. And this would be all going through the HSE department, obviously. And the homeless crisis wouldn't be as bad. So all this, it's $1 billion industry, John. They've in Colorado, which has the population of Ireland, a little bit more, 5 million, I think. We've got 4.5. It's just the GDP has just gone through the roof. And this is the new, forget about Bitcoin. This is growing, and this is growing in relation to Spain are on it, Portugal are on it. Ireland doesn't need to be Paddy last on this. The UK will be on it next. It'll get through for medicinal, and then you have to really look at it in relation to it is a vice. It has to be regulated. You have to be over 18, I would say. Well, it's over 21 in the States. And it's just imminent. I think if Ireland really sees this carp diem, we will be ahead of it. And it'll come down to possibly the questions that were raised from the floor afterwards.
What were they?
Everyone who was very in tune. It was basically, John, just what's the next step? Is there going to be a referendum? Like, I suppose after repeal, an awful lot of people would be concentrating in relation to, okay, what's the next liberal fight, for our rights? And this is it, like, from every prospect. And I found it, as I say, coming from a legal perspective and factual perspective, I thought it was really where we are at now. And how groups need to kind of come together and make this legal straight away.
It's definitely, I feel it's a left and right where they can meet now. The financial component is so attractive, isn't it? I mean, Colorado, as you say, its economy has improved. California is the revenue. They could not live without that revenue now.
This is it, like, even in the Silicon Valley, they're looking at this above where this kind of cannabis kind of area is in the north of California, and saying, right, that's the next big thing. How do we get in that in relation to obviously apps and stuff? But then there's a whole culture with that as well, you see, and that brings a whole different kind of tourist and a different kind of way of almost doing stuff, because the amount of people that actually smoke cannabis, let's be fair enough about it, have probably straight enough jobs where they couldn't be seen to be actually even known that they have a casual one. Yeah. But if it was legal, John, that'd be just completely open, and it'd be a very commonly accepted thing. And then you'll see that in places like Colorado and places in America where it is legalized, the crime has gone down and the economy has gone up. Like, it's and it really is a no-brainer. The problem is that the conservative right, I think it's an abomination, another drug against God's will, which are quite prominent. And they're also associated with the lobby groups and governments. And pharmaceutical companies are grand. Alcohol is grand. I'm talking about Ireland now. These are the elephants in the room, the people, the red herrings. And it really is no argument anymore. So as I say, literally, pun intended, it has to grow from grassroots level, and it has to be a very strong campaign. And hopefully, on the back of what I went to last night, I'd be very encouraged moving forward in relation to getting people organised and activists and making a reality.
I think you won't get a better opportunity. Well, you will, but you probably at the moment, because in terms of Big Pharma, their hold in Ireland, or their grip in Ireland, this really exposes it. I think, their position on this, you can see it already that they're very, very anti it. They're a super powerful lobby in Ireland. Yeah. And then you've got the alcohol industry, or a huge lobby. I mean, we can't even get alcohol out of sports sponsorship.
I know.
That's insane.
Well, it's amazing. They all coexist.
With a country with our problems, all our sports are sponsored by booze.
Yeah.
It's amazing, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
what would cannabis sponsor? What could cannabis sponsor?
They could sponsor the show.
I was just about to say, she's on the TV.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, we'd have to have a...
But I mean, if the sponsor's looking, Lexus, Lexus wouldn't be, we wouldn't say no to Lexus, would we, guys? Or
what's a little...
An Lexus car.
I think, Johnny, the funny thing about the marijuana debate is that the older people, as you say, would be the more resistant to it, and yet cannabis and
they benefit greatly from it.
They could really.
Oh yeah.
In fact, I don't think young people get enough out of it. I think the older people would, because they can relieve a lot of pain and sort of joint issues. And
absolutely. There's a great show there, Billy Connolly. He went across Australia years ago on a three-wheel motorbike, and it was deadly. And I said, I want to go to Australia on the back of that. And then he was in America going from east to west via train, but he stopped off in wherever, Washington State, it'd be a lot of wooded area. So he came across all these hippies, and he says, specifically to talk about cannabis, and you're growing it here. And he says, how many customers do you have there, Jim? Billy goes, and he goes, hey, Billy, don't say that, man. They're patients. So, he gives them this further chronic pain, as you say, and they really get a kick out of it, and it does them fantastic, you know.
I've seen
my father even said it to me. He said, "I do it if it was legal," but he says, "I hear the Indians live till 116 on it, you know." And it's been around forever. Why it's not in the mainstream is because it's a life-altering substance. I'm not going to say drug because it seems to be classified in the same context as ecstasy, LSD, and cocaine, which is a load of bollocks.
It's a plant.
But
We're legalizing the plants. Yeah, they're chemicals, exactly. And even now, even the farmers are looking for synthetic, you know, cannabis to get it through, to get it patent and all this. You know, it's really, they're trying everything, man. They're showing everything kitchen sink, even Sativex, like, you know, it's legal now, and it's just an inhaler. You know, with cannabis there, as I say, the culture and that, you know, it's a ritual for an awful lot of people. You know, after a hard day's work, they just the unwind thing is that, you know, and other people might take 10 Nurofen to get them through the day and 10 coffees.
I would just say on the alcohol thing, like it's not. I'm not advocating a replacement, but if you're a drinker, say a weekend drinker or whatever, as a replacement, you know, to not have hangovers, to not have a massive regrets, you know, to thumping the pillow out of some whatever you said the night before. I mean, what you might say the night before would be kind of convoluted and boring and philosophical, but it won't be slanderous and probably hurtful and mean. I think it could change the Irish character.
It completely will. They completely will. Like the amount of people that live away happily, and there's an awful lot of them. And I thought we might. Well, hopefully they're tuning in. Hello, all the Paddies around the world. Yeah. Like they would. A lot of them would have left and said, "Listen, man, I can't even have a joint down in my local, like, you know, and I can walk anywhere in the sun, and it's cool." And you know, people have died for my rights in the country, and I don't even have them there. And we were left here to kind of make sure that they do. And when we get our shit together, they'll come back, and there'll be a different buzz. There's no buzz in this country, John, at the moment. And I don't know what the lads, because I think now's the time to talk about this Paddy's weekend. We have this sense of pride of being Irish. I'm at sea, and I'm not wearing any green, but the original color, as I think Vanessa is saying there on her slide, is Ireland is the color of Ireland is blue, in fact. But we could make it a lot green. And your man Varadkar heading off there to Trump. I said it about Kenny last year. He'd be better off throwing a few leaves in that now, without that shamrocks. You know, some real green. We need to get real about what Ireland is, and as I say, people smoke in this country an awful lot more than we know, and because it's so fucking shit. And if it was legal, the hang up would be it almost the shekels would be off metaphorically in an awful lot of ways. Yeah. That's what I really believe. But if I didn't think that, John, I'd be gone myself.
Okay, Johnny. Sorry, you are going on a little bit. To be fair.
Fair enough. Well, that's your job to cut me off. Thank you, sir.
No, you were great, Neil. I don't think you're a midnight toker, but would you be opposed to Johnny getting his spliff legal?
So that's just really Think about the kids.
No, I don't have any issue with people using anything in safe and moderate and controlled passions. No.
Would it be a business you get into? I really do think that Ireland could be a fantastic producer of the best cannabis in the world. Like, we could be.
Well, I know nothing about the creation of it and what makes it good, but you know, if it's a viable business, I mean, if it's been talked about for years, if it would increase the coffers, a few quid in the coffers, and it was managed properly, I don't see why not. Vanessa, you opening a beer? This is terrible. I've only got water tonight.
Johnny's doing a little roll up, I think.
No, I'm not agreeing, man. I wish. Can't get good shit anymore. That's the problem.
I could do nothing on this show. Between having a drink, not having a drink. Is she drinking? No.
Just one of the things, just as a final comment, one of the things about cannabis is the misinformation that's spread around it. Like, for example, the oils, you know, the what's the oil called, Johnny? You might there's
there's THC and CBD. CBD doesn't give you the high.
Yeah, there's no high. It doesn't give you any hit, but it's had. I've spoken to people personally in Canada who use it and swear by it, and you don't get any high. I mean, stuff like that. The misinformation about how it affects people and what it does, would certainly help. I guess that. The middle of the fence, or the middle of the row people, the kind of sitting on the fence people who don't care either way, might help them.
Yeah, it is just on a kind of personal. Well, I'm sure Johnny could appreciate it. I gather on trying to get like a little tiny bud of illegal of a plant, you got to meet a guy at, you know, the street.
I've given up, John. I haven't done it in a long while because of that reason, and I don't have the money, and it's a waste of money. Damien Dempsey did say it one night. Damien Dempsey made a point of one night with Tommy Tiernan on the telly. I'm not rambling now in this one, but it needs to be said that Damien Dempsey, when I do, cut me off. He said that a friend of his younger brother is a fan of Dempsey, and he's a bit down. Will you come around and, you know, jazz him up and have a chat with him? And he did. And he just found out he was smoking this stuff, this weed, skunk. And Dempsey just had a few drags. He wouldn't be a smoker himself, but he would have indulged, I'm sure, in his time. And he just said after 2 drags, his head was just completely numb and it was all over the place. He says, this is what young lads are smoking now the whole time. And this is the problem with regulation, you know? Yeah. If it's regulated, you know exactly. It's like, you know, people don't, well, they kind of do drink whiskey for the sake of drinking whiskey, but there's so much intensity with different strands of cannabis. And I don't use marijuana because that's the name the Yanks gave it to stigmatize the Mexicans. Marijuana, you know, a Mexican term. So it's cannabis.
Okay.
And or herb. So basically, the whole idea is that it can happen that we're just, you know, going to, I don't know.
Where are you going with this, Johnny?
Just on the back of what Neil was saying.
Yeah. No, go on.
Can I just ask, is it a referendum issue, though?
I don't think so.
I wouldn't imagine so.
No, well.
Yeah. And Big Pharma, I mean, their whole
maybe somebody in the mosh pit. Is there? If we can go crowd surfing in the mosh pit, they could. They can answer it. Anybody there? No, if it's a referendum issue, I don't think it's a referendum.
It's not in the Constitution. Yeah. Article 412.
The thing is, Big Pharma's role here, like their glue here is tax relief. You know,
yeah.
And it's only a matter of time before they start to pull out. Anyway, you know?
we purchased their drugs at really the top dollar, don't we?
Yeah, but I mean that stranglehold is starting to weaken because more people are going up to Newry and more people are bringing it back from Spain.
Yeah,
and it's not just the odd person. I mean, there's loads. There's a fair bit coming back.
People are a little bit more consumer savvy though, as well, with buying. You know, people know now to ask for generic brands rather than just the name brand.
Yeah,
I mean, even how companies, like how pharmaceutical companies would get in with doctors when you think about it. So if you go to your doctor and you've got the sniffles or whatever, and the doctor, you know, if he has whatever medication he has in the front of his mind is what he's going to prescribe. So this is before they used to write on the prescriptions or generic equivalent. So the pharmaceutical companies would send loads of the promotional material and all the rest to doctors, like the notepads that said buy Johnny's drugs or buy John's painkillers, and that's what they prescribe because it's there in front of them. But now it's like even that's changed, that there's, you know, or generic equivalent on prescriptions. People are now seeing, like, a consumer watches the papers cover with pharmacies and price differences. So we're more aware of it as consumers than we would have been, say, 10 years ago.
Yeah, we're chronically medicated though.
Absolutely. You know, when they talk about drug driving, which is a new thing to Ireland, you know, there's an awful lot of people on prescription drugs that are completely, if they are tested on it, would be no way able to drive. So the whole idea that cannabis is a form of stone driving, and how it can be, you know, detected, because cannabis stays in your blood system for quite a while. So, you know, if you're stopped for after, and you might have had a joint in 14 days, you're still it's in your blood, so you'll still be tested first. I don't know how that can actually work, but that was also discussed last night. But getting back to the Dempsey thing, it's really what's going on in the country, and this is why it needs to be regulated, because it's so bad. When you do buy weed, where's it coming from? What strand is it? And as I said, it's so complex in relation to cannabis. There's so many strands, and you find your perfect strand. You can write or write, because this cannabis is the drug amongst artists. I don't know one artist or creative person that isn't fond of the doobie, like, you know, and it helps their thought process, their creative process. And so when it becomes legalized, it becomes regulated, you'll have some really good stuff there in America, and that'll be refreshing for people like me who used to remember Stoner's Code. If you remember, I'm sure you do that. Back in the day, you get something and you pay a reasonably price for it, whereas now you've got these, I don't know, scallywags, for want of a better term. This is good stuff, man. You know, I don't know why I'm putting on a Dublin accent like a man living in Kilkenny.
Be careful of that now. You know, can't come from up from Kilkenny and do that. I think
I don't get my shit in Dublin. I don't get any shit. Okay, John, this is going out all around the world. I'm clean, man. Let me cover.
Yeah, we have you on film. Sorry, Vanessa, you want to get in there?
Well, I was going to ask, did Johnny ever grows and try to grow his own, but I don't answer that, Johnny.
No, I did in Melbourne.
Okay.
17 years ago, a guy gave me a plant, and I said, I look after that. I was plant sitting, and then he said, hold on to that one, and nothing really came out of it. So, but like,
this thing,
my drum's hell story.
Did you know this thing you say it's legal? The stuff they sell in Mad Vapes up the road here. That's the thing in the canister, is it? It's in like a box. It's like a pipe. Is it? What's that?
Yeah, well, I don't know, pipe. It's bong.
No, it's in this, like, you know, the vaping things, but it's got like a little square.
A little tube. Yeah, just a little tube. Yeah, that's cannabis. Well, it's vapor oil. I don't know. You can get cannabis oil in places like Barcelona and Portugal, Berlin, Amsterdam.
Yeah,
you know, and it's just vape away. Like, you know, there's no problem with it at all. It's completely socially acceptable, and everyone's happy. You know, but in Ireland, oh, geez, he's happy over there. Sort him out quick. Especially in rural Ireland, you know, it really is. It's so fucking backward, lads. It's 2018, Paddy's weekend. We can only say it once. It's a great little country worth saving, but at the moment, I don't know. It seems to be
Johnny,
great.
I think
I'm not just talking about the weather.
I think that the numbers we have the numbers. Like, how many guards do they need to stop if we all start planting a row of cannabis plants? I mean, that might be the protests that we need.
There's activists going on in England, and they're brilliant. You know, English activism has always been great, ever since the poll taxes, I think, in '89 or something. They kind of, you know, unified an awful lot of people. So we can actually change it here through anarchy. And anarchy, as we know, is a strong word. It's a dirty word coming from, depends on who's saying it. But I'm talking about the context of anarchy and where it is. But what they started doing was throwing cannabis seeds outside public buildings, public office buildings. And so it's probably not a harvestable form of weed, but all you see is these green cannabis leaves outside the English department offices. So, you know, that's a bit of crack. And I'm saying with the campaign that's growing, and there's many different ones, I know them all. And I was actually so honoured to be touring Ireland with Howard Marks up and down the island. This is 7 years ago when the real snow was happening. And everyone else was constant tours. Myself and Howard were meeting the next generation of young people that were just so much into their cannabis, knew everything about it, and were talking about it like it was a botany class, you know. And all those heads, if they're still on the island, if they haven't got pissed off and gone to fucking Australia and Canada and America and all these places where cannabis is socially accepted, that's what I'm talking about, the culture of cannabis in Ireland and the tourists that would come here and the kind of creative output that would be. And it would alleviate an awful lot of people coming from Dublin, because if they thought that they could go and have a rural sustainable living and have a job in some aspect of this industry, which is massive, John, you can imagine the potential is endless.
I know.
And
I don't want to dominate the whole show with this, but I do think that uniquely Ireland, with, you know, the Wild Atlantic Way and Sligo and the surfing, it's very conducive to that lifestyle, to the
Trump golf courses.
Well,
wind machines, wind farms.
Can I just ask, what European, what countries, states in the EU is it legal?
Well, the Netherlands.
Holland, Netherlands,
and in
Portugal, did you say Portugal?
Well, it's
Portugal. It's decriminalised in Portugal. Yeah, they had a 12-year
street corner. You know, it's like it's dodgy in Portugal, but that's the nearest Ireland will go, I think. The decriminalisation.
Just decriminalise it.
Basically, the product actually gets worse, I gather, because the dealer's still in danger of getting arrested. You know, it's a bit like it's a lose-lose for everyone. The person who say purchases cannabis gets rubbish stuff and is back on the streets anyway. And Yeah.
And it's a fair point as well that Niall was showing us the statistics of crime, the amount of people arrested for cannabis, and given, hard enough sentences. I think in the last few years, the cops have become a little bit more savvy, and in fairness, they probably know an awful lot of people who smoke it, so they have a fair...
I've met a lot of smoking guards, actually.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, and they're the cool ones.
I know you're very I know this might be very heartbreaking for you, but I know a few guards who actually do smoke the weed.
Well, it sounds like 50% of this population here.
No. And Neil, sorry, Neil, can you hear me, Neil? No.
Well, I'm just writing a letter to the Guard Ombudsman, alerting him to this shocking revelation.
Revelation.
What constituency would still support a ban on cannabis, though, Neil?
Say again.
What constituency? What block of voters would oppose?
It's hard to say, because again, I think the miseducation thing is a huge part of it. You've got people who currently do it who obviously would be pro it. Then you've got the lobbyists who'd be against it, and then everyone in between either doesn't care or will just lump it in the same category of, well, it's as bad as alcohol, etc., etc. So I don't know. I don't know how.
It's the next big liberal push in Ireland.
I mean, I think probably the reality of it is because it's lumped into the same category as other drugs and as alcohol. I mean, if you take the legal drug, which is alcohol, and the damage it's doing, and the government is, well, all governments are taking steps towards eventually, I imagine, eradicating it, similar to cigarettes. So that's why I always think that it would be hard pressed to lobby to legalize marijuana, anything beyond the medicinal benefits. I could never see recreationally it being legalized in Ireland anyway.
Well, I think what happens when you've got a law that, like in California, where you can, if you've got a medical condition and a lot of things can be cured, not cured, but treated with it, like migraines. And so a lot of people, depression also, a lot of people do get it on the prescription. So that...
Yeah, but cannabis is very, very liberal though compared to Ireland.
Sorry?
California is incredibly liberal compared to Ireland.
Oh yeah, no, of course, but it's about to say 20 years ahead of Ireland.
Yeah,
they reckon 2025 it'll be well on the way to be in Ireland. I would see 2020, because that's the kind of vision I have on the subject.
Well, where's Luke Ming?
You can have that, lads. You can have that. Best joke so far tonight.
I didn't get that, Johnny, at all. What was it?
This is they're saying 2025. It'll be well on the way in Ireland. I am a little bit more optimistic than that. I see it as 2020. That's how clear of a vision I have on the subject.
Oh.
So that's 2 years' time with a push. If it becomes an issue, and the only thing it has to be is a referendum. Like the Ming bill was laughed out of the Dáil debate in 2013. 111 to 8, so the 8 that did it. So that was unbelievable. And I think they had the party whip in it. So it's just really pathetic. That's only 5 years ago. Well, we haven't progressed too much, but it's just
7 years.
I remember Aidan O'Riordan was on Matt Cooper, and he was talking. He was the guy at the time dealing with this issue.
Yeah.
And he literally couldn't say, like, he was being asked, I think, did you smoke? A joint. It was like children or something. It was like very old ladies or something. Yeah, the joint. No, I've never.
Well, see, he's a teacher, John. He was in the teacher in inner city school, so he had a rep there. So I'd say that's why he was holding back. But Cowan, when Fianna Fáil weren't going to win, I know. Yeah, there is still that kind of thing about it, that stigma around it. It's only a giant, but yeah.
I never believed Brian Cowan smoked. Actually, I thought he used that as to make him sound cooler. Sorry, that's the opposite of just the point you were making. It's hilarious how they can use it, because Cowan said you couldn't turn around your new CD in the 80s with the smell of wacky backy. And he had no problem saying it, like Bill Clinton, I smoked but I didn't inhale. And then Howard Marks says, how do you know that? He says, because I passed him the joint. Yeah, he did inhale, I know Obama said, I did inhale, that's what you're supposed to do. Yeah, but then Cowan became Minister for Finance and Taoiseach, and it wasn't an issue for him. So why wasn't it an issue for him back then if we didn't mind about it? So the elephant in the room is, yeah, sorry, Vanessa.
I think he's bigger stuff in front of him. Come here. I actually think as soon as they figure out a way to make money on it, and find an angle to build another Quango. Irish weed or
Yeah.
yeah, I can absolutely see it.
Yeah.
And I could see it in the next 5 years as well.
I could see Johnny becoming the weed czar of.
I'm opening up a ministry, the Ministry of Crack, and obviously that'll be a department in itself.
Neil, I want to get
public affairs
before 11 o'clock. Neil, you're Neil.
Yeah, I'm here.
Your entertainment choices for this weekend?
We have a bumper weekend ahead of us, John, and everyone, because the holiday weekend is upon us, and people are going, what am I going to do on St. Patrick's weekend? There'll be nothing to be on, nothing to be doing. Well, there's a shitload of films that are coming out. We'll stick with the local choice first. So in the cinemas this weekend, Damo and Ivor the movie is out tomorrow. So we all know Damon and Ivor from the TV series Andy Quirk. Actually, I think to this day there's plenty of people out there who don't realize Damon and Ivor are the one person. Andy Quirk plays both roles. But I haven't seen the film, but from what I've read so far, it falls victim to what a lot of shows of that nature fall victim to, is that they work great as a TV show, but when they translate to the big screen, it kind of falls flat on its face. The characters aren't necessarily as rich enough or deep enough.
Entourage moved from TV to screen, and I thought it worked very well.
Well, I haven't seen it. I mean, The In-Betweeners was a TV show that I love, and the first film was okay. The second film was terrible. But I think Damon Ivor as a TV show as well kind of did get a bit long in the tooth after a while. But I haven't seen the movie, so I can't say specifically. But the word is the characters are kind of lacking. So there's a lot of stereotyping of North Side, South Side, and I think the traveling community as well in it. But we'll find them.
Though, isn't it?
Say again.
That's the whole basis of that.
Well, that's the premise of the sketch. So, I mean, the film is what it's 90 minutes, nearly 90 minutes long. So that's a pretty long sketch, to be fair. But we'll see. It'll be out this weekend. We'll know for sure. Other films. Sorry,
Neil, can I just ask you?
Yeah.
So that was filmed entirely in Ireland. It's a lot of Irish movies are doing well, right?
Yeah, I mean, and there's a couple of faces in the cast. Tina Kelleher, who we all remember from The Snapper, has a part in the film, and there's a couple of names and faces in it that you'd recognise from Irish films of days gone by. But yeah, it is an Irish film, directed, written by Irish folks. I'm presuming, I can't see in my notes here, presuming completely Irish, funded from Irish sources as well, which is nice to see. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's
so that means that an Irish film can recoup its money. I guess
we'll find out. We'll see how this weekend goes.
Yeah, but I think a few lately have. I'm sorry. Go on anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what was the budget? I can't imagine the budget was too high, but I haven't seen a lot of promo for it now up until this one kind of came out of left field for me this week. I hadn't seen a lot of promo for it up to now. In fact, I haven't seen trailers or anything on TV yet either. So it may be getting a smaller release.
Are you sure it's coming out tomorrow?
It's coming out the 16th. Yeah, for sure.
I haven't heard anything about it. Have you, Johnny? Vanessa, have you?
The Damo Ivor movie, no, not a word. But I think it was a skit that just was a short, not a couple of series myself.
Well, they've made a movie now. Sorry, Neil, go on.
Well, he's a wealthy man, isn't he?
He is. I mean, the TV series didn't have. It had Rick Mayall in it. As well.
That was real cool.
Actually, I think his dad was a former guard.
Andy Quirk.
Yeah.
Oh, the Quirky's Fun Emporium. Yeah. Okay.
I think he was a guard.
Right.
Oh, that's.
He's a talented guy, though.
Yeah, Neil.
Big friend of Larry's.
We'll change gear and we'll go look at the family slot. And we have Beatrix Potter's Peter Rabbit is out tomorrow as well. So this is it's a kind of a blend of live action and CGI or CG characters of Peter Rabbit. It's not getting great reviews. James, Gleason's in it. James Corden does the voice of Peter Rabbit. Who else is in the? Sam Neill has a part as well. Margot Robbie, Daisy Ridley as well. There you go. But yeah, the reviews are pretty substandard, pretty below par. Unfortunately, I remember that. I would like that. My mother used to read me those stories when I was young. It's very disappointing.
It'll do well anyway. I mean, I think Paddington was very badly reviewed, the first one, and.
Yeah, well, it's the kids' film of the weekend, so in the absence of any competition, it'll do well for sure. Yeah. Other film coming out is Tomb Raider. So another attempt to reboot the Tomb Raider series. This one stars Alicia Vikander. I don't know if that's pronouncing that right. She looks like a young Lara Croft. And I think this is a year one type story of how she becomes Lara Croft, how she becomes the hero that we know from the video games. Again, not getting great reviews. Video games that turn into movies rarely do well. So yeah, see it, watch it at your peril. Or Kirsten Scott Thomas is in it. So they go, maybe.
She's after getting a few movies lately now, hasn't she? She got Churchill as well.
Yeah, there you go.
Didn't see for her for years.
Thanks, Vanessa, for your film comments are hilarious.
Well, 2 hours of your life may or may not be.
Do you know? I watched that movie that you plugged before Christmas, the one with the two Franco brothers.
Oh, the Disaster Artist. Or The Room,
yeah.
Or the Disaster Artist.
The Room. Well, it's
based
Disaster Artist After the Room or whatever.
Based on The Room, yeah. Yeah, he does good
and
job.
Vanessa, what did you think of it?
It was a bit mad now, but you had to stay with it to actually appreciate what was going on. And at the end of it, then you see the original guy, and then they actually show the way they filmed it in HD and in widescreen, and they showed the two of them running together as well. But the thing that struck me the most is just how prolific James Franco is. He doesn't sit down for a second. All the movies he's on, and even TV, like he's in The Deuce. He plays two parts in The Deuce as well. He plays twin brothers.
Okay.
Or he plays brothers.
But he's in a bit of he's on the list of there's been some accusations made against him, so he may the bold stuff. So we may not be seeing as much as him. But yeah, he's a bit of a he's a bit of a workhorse, and he put a lot of hence he was up for nominations, but he put a lot of love into that film. Yeah. And he was pretty spot on with his impression. I mean, Tommy Wiseau, The Room is a cult film, huge following around the world. It's like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. So he kind of nailed the character of Tommy Wiseau to a T. I think it's kind of tragic. It kind of puts an almost tragic slant on Tommy's ambition. But there's so many question marks around where he got his money from and all the rest. He self-funded that film. Yeah, Tommy's pretty.
He sold jeans, didn't he, Tommy?
Yeah.
But how do you fund a $6-7 million film selling jeans?
But according to the movie at the end, the little updates at the end said nobody ever actually knew where he got his money from, but he's still a very wealthy man.
Well, I'm imagining he's very, very wealthy now. The movie is doing.
I don't know if he's a Hollywood superstar. I mean, a lot of those screenings of films are fairly indie, but he's probably got more money than all of us. But Hollywood superstar, I don't know. He's another film coming out called Friends or something, The Friends or something like that, about him and Greg Sestero, his co-star in The Room. We'll wait and see what comes out of that. But we've one more film though. For this week,
Neil, you said this was bumper. This is
bumper. This is what I mean. For the weekend that's in it, we have Gareth Davis is directing Mary Magdalene. Her story will be told, and Rooney Mara plays. Rooney Mara plays Mary, and could you have a guess at who plays JC in this? Who plays the big man in this film?
It's brilliant actor.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Phoenix, yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix plays Jesus in this.
Walking on water.
Yeah.
Don't crucify him now. He's all right.
Look, Any moment now.
You're
we'll be
nailing it.
snapped
You're
up.
nailing it there.
Go on, Neil.
Anyway, it's in a bit of there's a bit of controversy around it because some of what would have been
a bit thorny.
It's a bit thorny at times.
Johnny, please. Neil, go continue.
It's some of the key moments of acclaimed moments of Magdalene's life are omitted from it. So the whole Mary washing Jesus' feet has been left out, and there's some other things as well. So it's not getting great reviews. In fact, it's getting substandard reviews, and I think the kind of creative choices made about what to represent on the screen probably influenced that. But yeah, so lots of films out this weekend, but not a lot of great films, sadly.
You did say bumper. Apart from,
but it's bumper. That's 4 or 5 films. We haven't had that bumper since the summer.
Well, you have the Patrick's Day Parade for 6 hours on whatever Network 2 on Monday.
On St. Patrick's Day.
You do?
Yeah.
Do you have anything more like anything coming up on television that's sort of particularly patriotic that we should look out for?
I don't think so.
Billions.
I mean, the Late Late
Billions
Show.
back.
Can
we talk about Tubbs over in Cheltenham?
What's that, Vanessa? You tell us all about that now.
Did something happen there?
I know nothing about Cheltenham. You're on your own.
Tubbs was over there as a guest of Ted Walsh.
Well, would you tell us all about that then, Vanessa?
Is Ted Walsh Lord Mayor of Cheltenham?
I don't know. But,
invitations and all that.
All I know is what are you getting snotty about, John? You're getting a bit stroppy.
I don't know. It's like you just said, Tubridy in Cheltenham, and then that was it.
Cheltenham, well, I was laughing.
Maybe you knew what you were talking about. I didn't, certainly.
No, because it dropped, okay? But just that it turns out then, I think you reported it today, turns out now that Paddy Power's paid for the whole junket.
Yeah.
And they didn't say it, you know, this is paid for.
It's unreal, right?
That's
because like the addiction thing.
The hour.
Huh?
It's incredible. I mean, so who else is paying for their slot on Tubridy then?
Incredible.
No, but are people paying for their slots on O'Rourke, and are they paying for their slots on?
Interesting point, Vanessa.
Yeah, but
before Christmas, I listened to an interview on 5/7 Live, and there was a Pip on it and somebody else, and that Pip is also a mortgage broker. So I want to know, is this what's going on?
Ah, Jesus, this is whole scale going. What's going on, Vanessa? This is what is going on.
So I can now say, whenever I hear an interview with someone with commercial interests or professional interests, that they've actually paid for that slot.
I can't say that, but it's wide scale.
But I'm entitled to assume it now.
You are, and I think that Paddy Power, particularly with the you couldn't make this up. Ryan Tubridy will be interviewing a gambling addict on one of these Fridays about how much he lost in Chelsea.
Well, I've had clients who are gambling addicts.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, but like he's highbrow, and that's the way some people live in that. And horse racing, I know an awful lot of people that are over there, and they're hard-working people. No more than the people who actually have a lot of money are hard-working people, like Michael O'Leary, if you like. You know, what's the problem? You know, in fairness. With the guy is getting shit loads of money, so he might as well spend it. He's getting shit loads of it.
No.
Yeah, but he didn't. Johnny. He didn't spend it. And RTE didn't spend it. Paddy Power paid to bring out there and to have an infomercial with the horse race with Ted Walsh and all Tom. But it was great out here in Cheltenham, and all the lads are arriving now, and they're all dolled up, and they're going to be laying great money. And
you can see the same about Pat Spillane.
Johnny, please, you
sorry.
You didn't even. You haven't even got the thrust of this at all.
Sorry, go on, Vanessa.
No, what happened was on the Ryan Tubridy show yesterday, they were coming from Cheltenham, which is a lovely idea because there's loads of paddies over there. And the background of Cheltenham being an Irish festival has to do with the Irish in London anyway. And it sounded great fun. And I heard Ted on it, and I got the impression that Ted Walsh had actually invited Tubry to come out there with him. And what is he, Channel 4, or is he back on? Anyway, I thought he was out there with the crew, and whatever horses Ted Walsh is bringing, or Ruby, whichever crew he's traveling with. And I thought it was all around that, and they were going to be interviewing all the Irish stable hands and everyone that's traveling over from. And I have a part practice in Kildare, and I know lots of I'd have a bit of crossover. And then I read this morning then that Paddy Power had paid for the whole lot, and Paddy got himself a nice interview. So now we're looking at commercial interests, or those with professional interests, or those with any self-interest in being on RTE, is actually paying for their slot.
Yeah,
so
incredible.
If I ring the Late Show and say, lads, if I do 6 minutes with Ryan on Saturday night, I'll give you £1,000.
You're cheap.
Neil,
yeah, that's it. It's crazy.
Neil, you don't seem to be too disturbed by this.
I'm not speaking directly about RTE, but I wouldn't be surprised given the way around the world the way this happens. Money talks.
Yeah, it does seem particularly with the betting thing. It's incomprehensible that they would do this. That they would have any item sponsored, any kind of editorial item sponsored.
But it's huge tax collected. Sorry, betting generates a huge tax take in this country, John.
I know, but there's
horse racing is a huge.
There's ways of going.
You want to talk about lobbyists? The horse racing, anything to do with racing or breeding or jockeys, the top jockeys are very strong lobbyists.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know what that means. Does it mean that this is fine and everything? That you agree with it?
No, I don't agree with it, but I mean, we're talking about the power of certain lobby groups like pharmaceuticals or the drinks industry. The horse racing and horse breeding and the horse industry and the gambling industry, they're all interconnected, and they would have the same.
But this is nothing to do with it. Like this, an RTE radio program having an editorial item sponsored by a gambling company. That's it.
Oh yeah, no, we've diverted, but we're just saying that horse racing and betting are interlinked, and they are strong lobby group, and they would be strong. They would be providing a lot of material to RTE as well. So they do have a self-interest. Both parties have a self-interest in keeping the other happy. But the main issue is the fact that Paddy Power was yesterday's one. Who's paying for their slot on tomorrow's Tubridy?
Well, I think it's known that
who's paying for their spot around the table with Marion.
Okay, thanks, Vanessa. Hello, Olga.
Hi, John. How are you?
Very well. Thank you very much.
Good.
Were you in town? Were you?
Never gets old, John. Never gets old.
You're just.
Were you just talking about the 2FM stuff? Is it?
We were talking about.
No, but 2FM sounds interesting.
Somebody going to Cheltenham and being sponsored by Paddy Power.
Yeah, by Paddy Power. Yeah. Mad, right?
Jeez, why doesn't Paddy Power send us somewhere?
Nice. We should put a shout out for sponsors, maybe. Paddy Power.
Where do we want to go? Do you want to go to the Netherlands?
Well, I asked
Johnny can be our man in the field from the Netherlands.
Yeah, well, we have to call a few things, like maybe from a political perspective, who's going to be the next leader in Britain in the next 3 weeks if they don't invade Russia. We're not going to talk about that anyway.
Okay, Johnny. Johnny, please. More tobacco now, I think. The tribunal begins again. It's been further delayed.
It's been pushed. Yeah, so we were supposed to go back on Tuesday, March 20th, but it's not going back now until April 9th. So it's another 3 weeks before it goes back. So I don't know what that might indicate. Like when Charlton was wrapping up, one of the last nights, I think if it wasn't the last one I read back, on the last evening, he basically said, look, they're going through like all the telecommunications, I guess, whatever telecommunications they have. And so I guess they're just kind of going through the information, but it would probably indicate that there's more than they thought they had last week, if you know what I mean. So but that's pure speculation on my part.
Go on, speculate a little bit more. What do you think it could be?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. If they did speak to journalists a week before it wrapped up last week. I mean, that's the kind of word was going around, was that they sent out new letters to certain journalists or whatever. And so I suppose if they did talk to them, and if there is more information, and they do have to read through more documents, or if they do have more telecommunications that they have to go through, it would just indicate, I think, that if it's been pushed on 3 weeks, it's because they have more work, the investigators have more work to do.
So more people might have come forward, more journalists.
Possibly, possibly. Yeah.
Well, we were talking about
people might have reacted to that plea, if you like, that was put to Morris, and he responded. Yeah.
And also, if you can retrieve the emails, they would be still there. Like we would have ours, but we can't find them. They go back to 4 years.
They should be there. They should be there. So.
Well, we can't locate ours, so. But,
no, we can't. I didn't even realize we had them, but yeah, exactly. I can't. I'm not. Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
we'll keep looking anyway. We'll keep trying to figure it out.
That is a long time away, though, isn't it? That's another month.
Yeah, it's another 3 weeks. Yeah. So I guess the tribunal, I think was kind of supposed to end by Christmas, and then it was supposed to be by Easter, and now it looks like it might even go longer. So obviously, we'll just have to kind of wait and see.
Well, it may not be on the side of an election then. That's what I felt with the delay. I thought it seemed excessively long to go through a few emails.
Yeah, you could be like, but also I suppose on the other side of things, Peter Charlton is a Supreme Court judge, and so he's got other responsibilities and things to be doing, I guess. So maybe that could be the reason as well. It could have been a case that there was blocks of weeks that he wasn't ever going to be able to do, and this is just kind of part of that. But yeah, you just have to wait and see.
One thing we spoke about, talking about the communications, was we were going to do a timeline of RTE and Morris, and I want to talk about Paul Reynolds' role so far. It got very little coverage on RTE, I noticed, but can I ask you about that? After the O'Higgins Commission, he got the first leak of what was in the.
That's right. Yeah. But I should just to say that there was a report by John Mooney on the Northern Sound radio in Cavan Monaghan, I think a week before that, actually.
Okay.
So I don't think Paul Reynolds was the first. There had been other reports, and that was just said in the tribunal last week by the senior counsel for RTE when they were discussing that document. But Morris, but the word lie was used in Paul Reynolds' report, and so.
Not in the Northern Sound interview.
I don't believe so. I didn't hear that, but I think that Morris wasn't very happy with that one either. My understanding is so. Okay. Yeah.
So Paul Reynolds. So we'll have to assume that their sources are top guards. I think it's safe to assume it would be kind of the upper echelons of the guards at that time.
Yeah, I imagine so.
And certainly those against Morris. Those opposed to Morris.
Yeah.
So Paul Reynolds then gives a distorted account of what's in that report.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he gives that on air, and it's the first one was on the Morning Ireland, wasn't it?
It was on Morning Ireland. That's right. That's correct.
It was a full half an hour. It was from 8 a.m. to 8:30. It was a long interview, and they went sort of not forensically through it, but they went it was quite rigorous. If Reynolds had been rigorous, but it was very. It sounded very, very bad from Morris if you listen back.
Yeah, and I suppose it focused on there's not a scintilla of evidence against Martin Callanan, so it would have beefed up that these guys were in the clear, and this guy kind of wasn't to be trusted.
Wasn't to be true. Yeah, was noble little fella, but not to be a bit odd, off his ideas are a bit strange. So that day then, or that evening, prime time sort of tried to come back a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah, so there was other reports. You see, there was another report on Keelan Shanley was with the Sean O'Rourke show. Yeah. There was a report there, and
by who?
I think with Keelan Shanley, I think Mick Clifford was there. sorry now, John, it's just I'm not off the top of my head. But there were other reports, and if I could just say for a second what Sean Gillan for RTE kind of argued, and we'll hear more about this, by the way. This was just done briefly because that was the day Morris was giving evidence. But what Sean Gillan tried to do is that he tried to kind of lay out all these other RTE programs where it was a bit more favourable, if you like, or these words weren't used as a kind of way to kind of counteract, so you can't kind of attack RTE, whereas, you know.
Yeah. Well,
but there were reports that Morris was like, well, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that. So, and in fairness to, I mean, not in fairness, but it has to be said that Sean Gillan said, look, I don't want to change your opinion of that. That's how you felt about that report. So, you know, and took actions.
Like even within RTE, you've got something like Katie Hannon versus somebody like Paul Reynolds, who's they seem to be in imposing camps in this whole.
Well, yeah, because if you go back to the other report about the penalty points I remember Paul Reynolds had a report, or it was reported in the afternoon. It was around 5:30, 6 o'clock news time or something. I think it was on the radio, and it was Paul Reynolds saying that Morris hadn't been cooperative with the John O'Mahony report into the penalty points. And then obviously Morris was very upset. Now we did hear apparently from Sean Gillan that Paul Reynolds did try to contact him. Morris wasn't aware of that. And then essentially what happened was Morris gave a statement, I think, to Katie Hannon or to Primetime. And so it was, again, this kind of, Sean Gillan was kind of arguing, yeah, but, you know, Primetime did this a couple of hours later. So, you know, so it's almost like, well, I suppose the lawyer can only do what he can do. But it was like his argument was he was trying to say, well, we might have done this with this, but we did this with this. So it's okay then, you know.
Well, I don't think there's anything that can compare to the 8 to 8:30 slot on Morning Ireland. It's like maybe 400,000 people listening.
Yeah.
You know, that's your nation there. There's the country, and that's where the ideas are.
The listeners are. Yeah.
You know, these are the facts that people are going to hopefully
remember.
Remember, yeah.
And it's the first one, if you like. Okay, not like obviously not everyone would have heard Northern Sound. You know, it would have been the first notion. Can
I bring you to that weekend? And the Marion Finucane show, and Gerald Keane was on. Now, I know Morris has sued Gerald Keane.
Yeah.
But the Gerald Keane's position was the Martin Callanan position to give his line, wasn't it?
That's right. And he basically, well, I mean, he said that he repeated this business of him not cooperating with John O'Mahony's penalty points report. And if you remember, what we said last week was the sequence was really important. Martin Callanan had been in PAC a week before, said that disgusting remark about John Wilson and Maurice McCabe. Then there was I can't remember now which came first. There was the meeting in the car park with John McGuinness. There was the Gerald Keane on Marion, and then Morris was in PAC a week later. So, and through all that, up until when Morris was in front of PAC, there was a strong effort to prevent him from going before PAC. Remember, he had this black box of information. They didn't want the black box of information to be opened. There was threats of going to the High Court.
Yeah. So I'm just to give a picture here to the viewers and people interested in this. You've got the whole establishment, and right inside RTE. Not even sort of just the crime correspondent is giving a distorted picture. Your colourful lawyer, you know, celebrity lawyer, is also delivering the message from Callanan almost.
It would, you know,
seems almost directly from him. So it's going to be an interesting time when it reconvenes.
It will be really like this will be the most interesting part, because I guess this is the bit that everyone wants to know about. Like, how could it, like, it was like we were talking about how a Garda commissioner can go to a car park and meet a TD and get into the car together and discuss a man who was just trying to raise issues that really just got that high up because they just weren't being dealt with at the lower level. And what he said to him is just so outrageous that.
Yeah, can I move on from from Paul Reynolds to Paul Williams then? And like he was the previous module when we were dealing with
Tusla.
So you've got RTE with Reynolds doing his business, his bits, Paul Williams then in the Independent is taking it from a different, bringing Morris down in a different way.
Yeah, so basically all that stuff with the penalty points pack, that happened in January 2014. And then in April 2014, Paul Williams met Miss D at her house and interviewed her at her house. And when Paul Reynolds gave evidence, he was asked certain questions about by the judge. And essentially when Dave Taylor's solicitor was there, Dave Taylor's solicitor said that basically what his evidence will be, and this is back in the summer, so we don't know if he's going to maintain this, but his evidence is going to be is that Paul Reynolds called him, Dave Taylor, from the house and said to him, I've talked to her, this man destroyed this girl's life, I'm going to write a damaging article about him, and I think that was kind of it. And according to Dave Taylor, he just said, grand, whatever, and then he contacted Noreen O'Sullivan and Martin Callan and told them this. So that was April, that's his evidence. Paul Williams completely says that's not true. So the thing is that in Paul Williams' articles, he wrote about 4 articles. In maybe 1 or 2 of them, the Miss D's allegation kind of was embellished or changed to from what it had originally been. And this is something that McDougall put to him.
Oh,
about the allegation, like as in like the door was closed and it was in a different part of the room and this kind of stuff. Anyway,
more lurid.
Well, just I suppose you could probably say that. And so also there was no geography and there was no names in the article, right? That has to be said. But Morris in his evidence said, I knew that it was about me. People contacted me to tell me that they knew it was about me because they would have known about the original allegation. And obviously his name was in the press at that stage. So
did you know Olga at the time?
I think so, John. I think so, yeah. But anyway, the importance of it is that those articles were in the media in April, and the fake rape allegation was sitting in a file in Tusla in this unallocated cabinet, we've been told, and that it was just taken out randomly. But the argument from Morris's legal side has been that wasn't random. It was because of those articles and because they knew this file was sitting there and they thought we need to do something about this. And that then someone took it out, conflated it even further than what had been already conflated, and then sent it to the guards. And then sent it to the guards, who then sent it to the Garda Commissioner, even though the guards who sent it to the Garda Commissioner knew about the original allegation and should have known that this was a complete mistake, so but they still sent it up.
The Williams articles were quite pivotal then.
That's that's what they believe, yeah.
They gave legitimacy to getting that file.
Yeah, because I suppose if you were in Tusla, the argument is like, oh gosh, this is here in the media. We need to do something with this. It's just sitting here. This is an unallocated file. That was the thing. It was an unallocated Tusla file. So it was sitting in a cabinet for a year, and suddenly it just got a new sense of life. And it just came just after those articles. And also, in addition, just around the times of the articles, Miss D went to GSOC to make a complaint about the original investigation. And there's some kind of discrepancy over, Miss D said Paul Williams kind of suggested to her that she go to GSOC. Paul Williams says absolutely not. Okay. So there were these 2 things going on. These articles were being written, there was a GSOC investigation, and suddenly that file took a whole new life.
Yeah.
And went to the Commissioner's office.
Okay, so you have Paul Reynolds at RTE doing his bit, Paul Williams at The Independent doing his bit. Who else is in the frame in terms of trying to thwart Morris or unwittingly or wittingly thwarting Morris?
Well, I suppose we've yet to know what Dave Taylor, who he said, what his evidence is going to be and who he told. But obviously, we did hear also, by the way, last week from a legal representative or barrister for Alison O'Reilly, who with the Mail as opposed to the Mail on Sunday, but I think she was at the Mail on Sunday at the time. And she is basically, her evidence we've heard will be or is that everyone knew this fake, that he was not to be trusted and that he assaulted or abused a child. So, but also, her solicitor was asked if she had heard that from Taylor, and sorry now to be, I should know this, but I think it was the case that no, it wasn't. She hadn't spoken to Taylor, but it was just something that was known.
Right.
But yeah. So
But
there's
you know
that, and
who
then we
else-
also know. Sorry, and then we also know that we know from the opening statement that what's her name? Sorry now, Anne.
Marie Ryan.
What's her name, John?
Anne Marie Ryan.
No, Anne Marie. No, the former editor of the Sindo.
Oh, Anne Harris.
Anne Harris, thank you. So Anne Harris has also told the Tribunal that she was told by an editor that Morris either abused a child or was a paedophile, one of those, and or something to that effect. And so she has told the Tribunal that as well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, this editor, this person who was not with the Sunday Indo, he was part of the Ryder Group newspapers.
Okay. But also, I suppose, and also when Paul Williams gave evidence, it was put to him, because he was like, look, I work on my own, but it was put to him, yeah, but you would have had to tell the bench of editors, the backbench, that you were going down to Cavan or Monaghan to interview a woman who had this allegation against Morris McKay, because at that stage everyone knew who Morris McKay was.
Yep.
So, I mean, even by the virtue of that, I imagine, newsrooms are small,
Well, yeah. So that's so the media and Morris McCabe is really not a very good story for the media.
No,
or Morris.
I don't think so. No.
And RTE, in defence of Paul Reynolds, I mean, they said that across our broad range of programs, we've had good coverage. We gave Morris a fair run at it on other programs. That's really the basic.
That's pretty much what Sean Gallan was getting at. Yeah.
What do you do though if it's your crime correspondent? This is not like a pundit or some guy off the street or even a celebrity lawyer. This is your nuts and bolts guy, and also he's still the crime correspondent. It's not like he's been transferred to a different position till the Tribunal is over. He's still doing crime stories, and Paul Williams is presumably, and
yeah. But I mean, I guess if they're the people, like, this is just like a lot of the problems I think in media is just a formula that they're kind of stuck in. You've got your correspondent, they have the contacts, they get the story, they get the content, they get the pictures, they get the video, they get the interviews, and really, I think a lot of the time that's pretty much what the editors want, and that's kind of just how it is, and it doesn't make it great, but it kind of is how it is. And so then you just have this continuation, and you just have the same people doing the same stories, and couple that with the fact that it's not like the guards give out loads of information anyway, at least the information you're looking for, but they'll give loads of information that they want to get out there. But
well, do you remember? I mean, the tragic suicide a few weeks ago of a guard in Dublin in the Ballymun station, and Paul Reynolds wrote a new eulogy on the RTE website, a really powerful piece of writing about this guard. So yeah, and when he listened to Paul Williams, he has a great deal of affection for the guards. So, all with the exception of Morris McCabe, he's the guard they hate, or he's the guard they don't like.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting because we don't know what we know that obviously we can't comment, but it's a fact that the Regency Hotel trial is on hold while there's an investigation into that death. And so, we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. But
there's aspects about that. That Jim O'Doherty has raised serious questions about some emails that this guard may have sent, and might derail that whole entire trial. But
but you're right. You're absolutely right. It's gone. It's just, I think with Morris, it just got so, I don't know, entrenched, and obviously said over and over and over and over, and it's just become some sort of just a toxic reluctance and refusal, rather, to
acknowledge that they made mistakes and that they could
just acknowledge they made a mistake.
I think people would have forgotten the question of the penalty points, and although like people were annoyed, it was on the serious level of
But you see, and also this goes back to like the people who did have penalty points quashed. You know.
Yes, of course, the same people who we're talking about now.
And Martin Callan, like that happened in 2013 with Gemma. You know, so that was before that file would have got to the commissioner's office. You know.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that's just. Lest we forget that Gemma O'Doherty lost her job after doorstepping Martin Callan.
He wasn't there. Remember, that was the thing.
Yeah. There might be more to that story, I think, in terms of, we'll probably come back to that. Does Neil or Johnny or Vanessa want to come in?
Sorry for interrupting earlier. I'll get, but you're saying about that Paul Williams and Paul Reynolds are sort of going with this theme, this angle and whatever, and they're given so much space. Like their editors are also complicit in that. And their producers, well, certainly Paul Reynolds' producers. I mean, Morning Ireland must have a huge team, editorial and researchers and producers and.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
they're all going along with it as well.
Yeah, but I guess sometimes, Vanessa, sometimes, especially in Ireland, the journalist becomes bigger than the process. You know, in a way, because they're revered. They're a brand in themselves. They're an institution almost in themselves, and sometimes maybe they aren't kind of viewed, or they don't have the same rigorous kind of oversight that possibly other journalists might have. I don't know, John. Maybe that's not fair.
Well, I would think that if you look at somebody like Michael Clifford, it's obvious that the work that he's done with Morris McCabe has enhanced his reputation, and it's been brilliant work. And I wouldn't understand why somebody like, say, Paul Reynolds would look at that and go, yeah, that's the kind of work I want to do. You know, that's the stuff I want to do as well. I mean, this kind of breathless Kinahan Hutch stuff reporting is not journalism. It's just sort of,
it's tabloid.
Excitable, yeah. And they get off on, they seem to get off on this macho thing. And I think even with Noreen in charge, it's an incredibly macho culture.
There's always books. He's got any amount of books that he can write in a year about any issue that he's written about with a tabloid.
I mean, the guy is very productive and industrious. Paul Williams and Paul Reynolds. I can't distinguish between them sometimes, but to see these men as authority now on Morris McCabe or anything else is.
It's disappointing. It's really and it's troubling, and it's. I mean, I don't know. I don't know much about their careers, but I'm presuming that they would have come through the whole, the crackdown on heroin in the 80s, the 90s. I don't know. Like, I don't know.
They just get very, very close to the guards. I mean, they get very close to the guards. If you want to read back on Paul Reynolds' piece on that part, I've forgotten his name. Peter, I think is his first name. And you'll just see that this is like, this is a bit like football journalists in Britain, even GA journalists, particularly
they're pals. They're pals. Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're mates, and they cover up a lot. You know that, Vanessa, in terms of sport. I mean,
but it just if I don't mind drawing back there a sec, John, Olga, you were saying about how journalists can be like an institution and a brand on their own, but I mean, Paul Reynolds isn't really. I mean, Morning Ireland is a bigger show than he is.
Oh yeah,
it's more of an institution. I suppose Paul Williams likes to talk about himself, and he thinks he's the main player in whatever paper he works for. Actually, I don't know the man, so I'd have no interest one way or another getting to know him either. But let's be honest, none of them are syndicated around the world, as far as I know.
Yeah, but I suppose they're huge fish in a small pond. That's the. They're just a.
They do have the inside track. If the inside track is one voice, the top voice on the establishment side.
Exactly, John. The establishment. We're talking about the establishment. Who are the establishment? These guys fit the role within the media, which the media is a department of the establishment to stop the truth from coming out. The media at the moment now is on trial, and I'm delighted to see it. I'm delighted to see one of the best journalists in the country reporting on it for Broadsheet. So
Yeah, well,
you know, it's now of the time. I will take it again, Olga. It's really exciting. Like, you know, I thought when Dennis O'Brien took over Irish Independent that people would just say, I'm not buying it anymore. But people just buy it because they think that it actually is the news. They put on Morning Ireland because they think it is the news. And now is the alternative media. People need to get more information and they have to stop listening to RT bias. It goes back to Tuberty again. It goes back to infomedia and info advertisement, whatever. You know, get news where people actually really want to be journalists, and there's a handful of them in the country. And they're not in RT, they're not in Irish. Well, there is a few in RT and there is a few in the Irish Independent, but the establishment doesn't allow. There's a wall there that no one can get around, and it's a very thick bureaucratic system, and it needs a lot more media people interested in telling the news.
But isn't it interesting though, that story about Tuberty, obviously following on from, you know, Aaron Rogan's story, following on from Ellen Coyne's stories. Like, it's interesting that they're seeing things, like, obviously they're young, there's a group of them, it's a very small outfit, and they're young, and they can just see things with fresh eyes. Like, they're telling stories about stuff that's been going on for years. It's like, you know, it's like when the Late Late was sponsored by Quinn Insurance or Liberty Insurance. You know, there was no kind of, was there a story written about it? I don't know. But they're seeing those stories.
Yeah,
because they're very much the rise. Like, I think that's really, well, we're all benefiting from it. But
yeah, but they don't have they're not part of the legacy of Irish.
That's
media.
it. No legacy issues. Yeah,
kind of can come in and.
Yeah, and even the response that they had, like the pressure that obviously Ellen Coyne was put under, you know, not pressure, but obviously the response that you could see online and Twitter, it was just so awful and embarrassing for them. You're just like mortified for them, you know.
You mean they were kind of responding defensively and.
Yeah. There's no story. This is nonsense. Yeah.
You want me to more sensitive.
But it is all getting found out, and it is all shrinking. All the the viewership numbers are shrinking. Advertising revenue is shrinking. Sales is shrinking.
Yeah. The thing is,
in the last 10 years, nothing has gone up.
No.
In that mainstream media, there's not going to be some miraculous event that turns it all around again.
No, but how long do you think we can go on with this? For instance, like, you know, the Tuberty, you know, $250,000 a year, and you know, going to Paddy.
Well, I suppose
$250,000. That's only half it.
I know,
but I think. Let's put it this way: there won't be another Tuberty contract out there in RT again.
Well, not for Tuberty anyway.
But
well, actually, that's a really good point, Vanessa. Like, because I don't think anyone who gets into newspaper journalism will ever make the money that they made. They will. It's never going to happen. Never.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the Marion Finucanes and that money will never be made available to the next person on their list for when Marion hits the road. You know.
No.
It just won't. So it'll eventually. It's a bit like they just all have to retire, I suppose. But at the same time, the numbers are drastic. It is dying. You just have to be paid. We can just sit back and watch it die, or we can help accelerate it.
But they won't. The answer to me is so obvious in terms of holding on to their readers is to simply reflect what their readers want. Speak up for their readers. Speak up for the little guy. I mean, it's very, very simple, the model in journalism.
It is, and
it's really simple. It's like you decide who needs the help, and it's a service to others, really. But you have to decide who are the good guys and the bad guys. If you keep on picking the bad guys to save your mortgage or whatever, to save your job, or what you think will save your job, because it's not. You won't have a building to go walk into. And even then, it's only temporary. It's, you know, Paul Reynolds is relying on the source and the guards to keep him at the centre and the first with all the news, and the guy that gets to pitch his camera in the driveway of someone's house up the road there while they're pulling a body out of it. Okay. Yeah.
But that will all end with a change of regime in the guards.
Exactly.
And then he's left then looking. He's out in the huddle with Olga there, you know, trying to get his camera in, sticking. So it is all short term anyway.
It's you know, very, very short term. I see a huge change in the media, but I really feel that they have to embrace what's defending the people against, be it Irish Water, be it the guards, be it whoever has taken a position.
The vulnerable. What's the phrase?
Go ahead.
The vulnerable.
We're only as strong as our weakest link.
Yeah, sorry, that was. I should just not said anything. Yeah.
Johnny.
Yeah, we're only as strong as our weakest link. Is that it?
No, society is only as strong. Yeah, let's
we know what we
Paddy's
mean.
Let's talk about Paddy's weekend.
Yeah, Paddy's weekend. Can I want to give.
We're going to sing an Irish song, John.
Let's sing a rebel song.
I do want to recommend, if you can get it, Flight of the Doves. The movie is great.
Brilliant. Shot in Shannon Bridge at Lowell. My friend of mine is in it. He was only 6 months at the time. But a class film. Yeah. Class. Sort of good.
Flight of the Doves. It was made in Shannon Bridge. It stars everyone from Dana to Noel Purcell to every...
Brendan O'Reilly. Brendan O'Reilly's a cop in it.
He's a cop in it.
Running around and clone. Oh, that's brilliant.
Oh, and Ron Rudy, who played Fagin in Oliver, is the...
I knew that. I didn't know that, but now I know what you're talking about. I thought it was. Yes.
Neil,
John, I just while you were talking there, I picked up on something to change the topic, that Brendan Ogle is saying he's not coming back on the show until he gets more unionised tea breaks, and he's offering representation to the panelists to ensure that our worker rights are represented adequately. And so how do you feel about that, John?
Well, he's just a rabble-rouser, troublemaker. I've said it from day one. The guy is self-publicist. No, he's totally right. We do need to sort out the working conditions here.
Well, the next episode will be a 2-hour sit-in where the panelists are just going to sit in silence until our rights are recognised, John. We want our salaries doubled.
Well, the benchmarking. Who were we benchmarking ourselves on?
Well, we're benchmarking ourselves against the RTE salaries. We're going to take the likes of Tubridy and Duffy and use them.
Yeah, we'll get an aggregate between.
Although Johnny doesn't agree with their salary, so he's going to benchmark himself.
And what about the performance?
The only benchmarking me, Vanessa loves Brendan. That'll be the benchmarking.
Vanessa loves Brendan.
Neil, I put up some.
With a compass on the bench.
On the bed, yeah.
Excuse me, lads.
No, on the bench. I'm not talking about bed.
Please, Johnny.
I'm trying to explain myself to Vanessa.
Johnny.
The line is bad again, John. I know, yeah, sorry.
With the greatest respect, please. Neil, I put up the newspapers. Would you be able to share them?
Yeah, I will. While they're coming up, do you see who's on the Late Show tomorrow?
Mark Hamill.
Oh, your friend, Mark Hamill.
Oh, yes.
Is Mark paying for his spot there? Is Mark paying for his spot on the Late Show tomorrow?
Oh, I'd say Mark had to pay for his slot, you know, and he had to pay to get on the St. Patrick's Day.
Well, I mean, who from the RT canteen has he pushed out? I mean, somebody's going to be very put out.
No,
So someone from the dancing anyway, you're right.
Neil, you've got that up there.
I see. Deirdre O'Kane was saying that it's actually getting quite sexist on the dancing with the.
That was in the song, yeah.
Okay, Vanessa. So that's the Times.
The Times, yeah. So you heard about the wind farm, the stuff he said about the wind farm. Just giving a speech, the Friends of Ireland in Capitol Hill, and he regaled a story of how he got a call, or his assistant. He was talking about how when he was tourism minister for tourism, his assistant said to him, "Oh, there's Donald Trump was on the phone," and he said, "No way, that's piss take." And then it was Trump, and he was basically talking to him about his golf resort in Doonbeg, and that there was a wind farm that was going to be built, which he didn't want to happen. Yeah, so
Neil,
did you talk about this already, John?
Neil, I talked at great length earlier about this.
Oh, sorry. Can I just say one thing? I just saw one
Please.
thing on Clare FM before coming on, and apparently Clare County Council have given a press release to Clare FM saying that they have no record of Leo Varadkar calling or making any contact about it.
Well, it would be Owen Murphy anyway.
Contact.
Owen Murphy's Minister for the Environment, isn't he?
No. So this is back when he was tourism minister. This all happened when
Was Leo tourism minister at some point, was he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
So he made the call as Minister for Tourism. And he hasn't really given any detail. He just said that he inquired, and in the next breath, he said that it was cancelled, the permission wasn't given for the wind farm. But he said that it would have happened without him, so
Right.
it's hard to know exactly what happened. But but it is interesting that Clare FM were saying that Clare County Council is saying that they've no record of it at all.
Sorry,
That doesn't surprise. Are we surprised?
Excuse my language.
No.
I put up the papers twice. Jesus.
Oh, shock horror, John.
Oh, I put them on, John. I put them up before you. Sorry, I thought I messaged you. You probably didn't see it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Corbyn defense.
Forgive me. There's there's Irish Examiners up there though as well, Neil.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have a look for. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I see that there. Technology.
So Clare County Council supporting Varadkar in Olga.
Sorry, beg your pardon?
No,
No, it's the opposite. Sorry. Okay.
It's complete opposite. They weren't aware of that he had made those calls.
So then he's clear if he's going to be meeting Trump, because then Trump can't say it to him because it didn't happen.
No, but Leo said he was going to make a call. But sure, it doesn't matter. Fucking the wind farm isn't going ahead for the moment.
And Leo's T-shirt.
But sure, it's a dunes golf course anyway, isn't it? So sure, a good storm will have it in the.
I know, but you can't just value it as a complete news story because you just don't, it's dunes or whatever. It's on the front page of the papers. That's where we're talking about it. So it has some relevancy.
I suppose the.
I know it's relevant, John. I'm just saying that Leo not making a call is neither here nor there. The council decided not to put it up anyway.
No, Leo making the call is the story, Vanessa.
Because I suppose the question is, Vanessa, did he have undue influence then on this decision?
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
But they are obviously saying that they didn't. Is that right, John?
So he didn't make a call at all?
No, they're saying that they have no record of him making that call. So he didn't even inform the council that he was making the call?
I don't know, but that's this is what Clare County Council has said. Clare County Council says it has no record of receiving any call from Taoiseach Leo Varadkar in relation to a planning application for West Clare wind farm that had been opposed by President Donald Trump. Clare County Council says all representations, objections and observations made in relation to the file are available to view, but there is no mention in the planning file of then Minister Leo Varadkar.
Okay,
so that's interesting, isn't it?
That's hilarious, really.
It is odd, isn't it?
It's odd, yeah.
I see Facebook deal.
Yeah, Clare FM. We can put the link up, or we'll tweet the link.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Vanessa doesn't really see the import of it, and Johnny. I mean, I actually do. I mean, this is.
No, I do see the importance of a minister. But if Leo contacted them when he was Minister for Tourism, that was obviously before Trump was even a candidate.
But Trump had called him. Trump called Varadkar.
Yeah, but
he's acting
all the time.
But he's a private individual.
He was a private individual when he rang him.
That's right. He was. Yes, he was. He wasn't president when he rang. Yeah.
He wasn't even a candidate.
But
that's why it's an even bigger issue. It wasn't a state matter.
But your business people contact ministers all the time.
And
they're not a bit discreet about it and ask them to have a word or can you look into this or.
But that doesn't mean that the government or this minister has to take action just because they get a call, though.
But the question is there. The big one is that
it happens. Leo wasn't the first.
But Trump came to Shannon Airport there, and he got a presidential reception. He had Irish dancers out and everything.
He didn't, Johnny. He had Michael Noonan in the rain. Come on, please. It was a shabby red carpet. Nobody went down there. People were slagging everybody off. It was appalling. Vanessa, I think the fact is that He's a private individual. Like the bloke if you phoned Leo Varadkar as tourism minister, he wouldn't do that for you. He wouldn't even take your call.
No, but then I'm not a multi-billionaire, millionaire.
Yes.
Super TV personality, employer, and stuff like that.
You're Irish. Why would you want to be being Irish in a country trying to make change? Give that to the Americans. Like Trump.
Okay, but the fact that he can get that influence because he's a millionaire, that's the problem here, no?
I get that that's the problem here, but that happens every day in every ministry. There's somebody ringing looking for something to be asked or something to be done.
Vanessa,
I suppose, Vanessa, the thing is that what he wanted
in the White House in Washington, they're like, he said publicly to the world's media that he had done this.
Well, as president to the Taoiseach.
Today, that's what happened. You see.
Yes, but
that's why we're talking. I know it goes on a lot, and I know that there's corruption everywhere. But this is a particular thing that we've just discovered.
Well, well, to be fair, sorry, John, he did.
You're saying it was when he was Minister for Tourism he made this call.
Yes, Vanessa. Donald Trump called him when he was tourism minister.
Exactly, but Donald Trump was a private citizen, granted a bit of a dick, and he was on the telly, and he's multimillionaire, billionaire, whatever.
He was an American businessman.
Yes, and he rang the minister. He rang a minister in Ireland. He probably rang a dozen different ministers throughout the world or politicians, and every minister in Ireland, they have offices they have calls to their offices every day. Someone looking for something. So why? This was obviously years ago.
Because he acted upon it, Vanessa.
But they all do.
Vanessa, that's not true.
It's a great old country.
Okay.
So wouldn't you do it yourself?
Most people can't get to the minister, Vanessa, to even just have that discussion.
Multi-billionaires do get to the politicians.
That's the point, Vanessa. That's the point.
But it happens all the time. Why is this one unique?
Because he publicly announced it himself. He revealed it himself. He leaked it himself against himself.
Well, actually, John, it should be said. Leo actually said it in an interview with Time last year. He mentioned it in an interview with Time.
He didn't go into detail, though. He didn't go into detail.
You're absolutely right, Neil. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
He revived it today, anyway.
Has he met Trump yet? Has he met him yet?
Yeah, he's done and dusted.
Has anybody read the paper? Like, does anybody follow the news at all?
He's meeting with Pence next. He's meeting with Pence tomorrow in a closed door.
We wait for you to put it up on Broadsheet. That's our news source. It's the only source we trust.
Okay,
it is mine. I can't trust anything else at this stage.
Okay.
We're upsetting John now.
No, not at all. There's another story on the front of the Examiner about $500,000 be given to UCC staff.
Yeah, Niall Murray. We've got a story there. More than 160 University College Cork employees earned average payouts of $3,400 for contributions to a campus tech firm that sold to a Facebook subsidiary. So the value of the 2016 purchase of spin-out company Infinile by virtual technology company Oculus has also emerged as being well over 20 million euros. UCC records show it got an initial payment of 1.659 million for its 12.6% share in Infiniled, which develops low-energy LED lighting at the University's Tyndall National Institute Research Centre.
Okay, that wasn't as interesting as the headline.
No. Oculus isn't Oculus the VR reality?
Yeah.
So I thought,
Okay.
So they're summing up there in the rape trial, I think, are they?
Yeah, they're summing up in the rape trial. Yeah, I think that's going to go on for another few days, isn't it?
Yeah, they made closing statements today.
Today was supposed to be. Today was the 15th was supposed to be the day that everything was to conclude.
Oh, sorry, beg your pardon. Okay.
But
they went through on Saturday which is quite unique.
That's right. Yeah.
It was the first time a murder trial had sat on a Saturday in Belfast or in Northern Ireland. The jury, I know a jury member actually on that trial.
Careful now.
Yeah, they've been sequestered for 5 weeks and haven't spoken to them about it. But I wonder how they're getting on, and I'm sure it's a very stressful, very pressurized atmosphere in the courtroom.
And the Beast from the East is coming back, John.
This is the storm again.
This is the East. This is the storm. It's coming back. Coming back, everyone. Get your bread. Get your bread. Your bread and your booze.
Okay, JCB. Do you see how easy it is to knock the roof off on a Aldi?
Well, Stephen was talking about Pat the Baker missing the. Was it you, Johnny, or somebody mentioned Stephen? Pat the Baker missed his opportunity the last time. That Brennan's had really cleaned up. It's time Pat the Baker did his bit for this storm, isn't it? I mean, we'll have to give him a.
I don't know. Is it actually coming in? Is there storm? Will they cancel the parade?
Yeah. No.
Will they cancel the parade? Do you think?
The
Those poor Americans. Where they? Hang on, I'm just looking here. Rain. Oh, there is snow. Oh my
slush.
God.
It's slush. -3 slush. Not good.
Saturday into Sunday, actually. It is. There is quite a bit of snow.
It'll be bad for the horses at Cheltenham. There might be an awful lot of injuries.
As far as the last day.
Hopefully there won't be any.
I take it you no winners then, Johnny, in Cheltenham this year.
Don't have any money, Vanessa.
We don't encourage the gambling. Neil, is anything more you want to add before we close up tonight? As our producer,
have a very safe weekend.
Anything you want to plug though that you've got a show?
I'm doing a show on Sunday, as ever. Dublin's twice weekly improv night, the Tightrope, every Sunday and Monday in Unshaw. I'm on Sunday. I do a show called one of my shows that I do is called Old Man Improv, where myself and a bunch of gentlemen who are over the age of 40 do a show where the humor kind of resides in the decades we best remember and best love, such as 70s, 80s, and maybe touching a little bit of the 90s, depending.
Sorry, do you remember the 70s, Neil?
I remember the from the year I was born. I remember very well. I don't remember much before I was born, but after I was born, yes, I do.
And this is in Unshaw and Camden Street, isn't it?
Unshaw and Camden Street, yeah.
What time is that? Sunday?
8 p.m. on Sunday night.
Brilliant.
Upstairs.
It's Neil plus one, isn't it?
No, not Neil plus one. This is I'm performing with two other folks, gentlemen by the name of Mark Cantan and Sean F. I actually don't know Sean F's real surname. He's very mysterious. He's from America, and we're men on the downslope. We're catching up maybe on the other panelists. Other male panelists.
Okay, so that's Sunday at 8.
Good save there. Good
Sunday
save,
at 8. Johnny, anything to plug this week?
Just the bass. Chill out. That's it, man, for me. Just let Paddy's Day happen. I've been around it too many times. I think it's really great being Irish when you're not in Ireland, because there's more of a patriotic vibe about it. So, John, you'll enjoy it more than anyone, I'm sure.
And Olga, thanks so much for tonight.
No problem.
From a shift, anything to plug or mention? Anything we haven't?
No, I don't know.
Anything on the site that needs reiterating?
I can't think off the top of my head. Sorry, John.
Okay, and we've only got the Examiner and the Times Ireland edition up. But if we had the other Irish papers, we'd put them up. But they don't send them to us. We have to find them. We have to go onto Twitter, and can you imagine the Irish Times wouldn't send us the cover of their paper?
They used to send it to us, though.
Imagine the pettiness.
Can we not play a song? Can you play a song for Irish Ireland? All the Irish music that doesn't get played on here. Oh, Roshi Vahawalia. To all the viewers out foreign looking at us right now.
Do you want to
hang on a second, Johnny? Do you mind? Johnny, I'll join in with that, right? But hang on a second. Johnny, you said the Irish Times have taken you off the mail list.
Yeah, we don't get the cover.
No, that's a long time ago now, though, isn't it, John?
Yeah, we annoyed them some time ago, and we don't get the independent.
That's very unbusinesslike.
Oh God!
Really?
That's only the half of it. These people, they don't care. Like, you know, it's their minor little petty grudges that'll win out the day all the time.
And there was you standing up for Barry Egan all week, deleting everything everybody said on the thread.
Well, it got a bit anti-ginger, I thought. You know. I mean, the guy's a pioneer. You know?
John, you have to give got to give a mention to the chat pit tonight, because I think it's the first week of the chat pit where what they say is stays in stone, because it'll be visible on the replay. So
this is now you're up there for posterity if you've left an answer.
You're up there forever. You're up there forever.
Oh, they stay now. I never get to see them because they're always gone by the time.
Yeah, they won't be. They'll be staying from now on.
And that means when you play back the video, Neil, you can see all the comments as they're going on.
You can see the comments, yeah.
So when they're talking about your lovely shirts, John, and your sexy hair, you can be embarrassed all over again.
Well, I'm glad to hear they've been nice tonight, because you guys haven't been that particularly nice. I mean, you've been a bit kind of ornery.
You're very cranky tonight, John. You're very cranky.
Yeah, John.
I find you guys ornery. I feel like I'm.
It's all those books behind you. Is that what it is? You've so much reading to do this weekend. Is that what's bothering you?
I've been a bit poorly, I'll agree, but I find it very irritating if people haven't even followed like the basic stories of the day. I mean, that's ostensibly the show we're doing, isn't it?
Is Brendan giving you a hard time on our behalf? Is that why you're grouchy?
Oh, me? Oh, Brendan Ogle?
Yeah, on the collective bargaining agreement we've made.
Wow.
Yeah, he said we need more money if you have to read the papers as well as do the show.
See, I give up the tea breaks myself now, or the coffee breaks, or whatever you're calling them. The comfort breaks. I have no problem sitting down for 4, 5, 6 hours and going through.
Okay.
I pay $3,000 a year in unit fees alone. Okay?
It's this pay gap is I'm not happy about.
Well,
yeah, because you're paid more than us. That's the problem. You've got a monitor in your background. Look at poor Johnny's connection. Yeah, man needs to be paid better.
Okay, Johnny.
Too much.
Johnny.
Well, you see, John has regularly introduced me as an expert, so I mean, I have to exploit it.
Well,
my worth.
You got your PIP money.
And me what?
You get your PIP money.
Either RT or the HSE should start sponsoring this show, because the information that we're giving out is groundbreaking, serious, unbelievable stuff.
Johnny, will you now sing us out? Thank you to Neil.
Sorry, can I give a plug? Can I get a chance of a plug, John, please?
Vanessa, please.
Yeah, sorry. It's just Coola, Lukey's team are in the club finals on Paddy's Day in Croke Park. So to wish them well. And anyone that is at a loose end on Paddy's Day to go up to Croke Park, because you'll get to see 4 games with top level players, and club level is a nicer game to watch sometimes. So good luck to Lukey and the lads.
And he's coming back for that, isn't he, Luke?
Oh yeah. Well, you see, club final is the biggest day in the GAA.
Right. And who are Coola playing?
Piershig.
Whom?
Oh Jesus, I better check that. Lester.
Piershig?
Yeah. No, Piershig. I think it's Limerick side.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
There's an Piershig in every county in Ireland. So.
Right.
I know I probably got that wrong now, and some fucker is going to say, Jesus, you're funny, you don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, so Luke, if you're home, enjoy yourself on Monday.
Yeah, and look, Lukey.
I hope you bring the cup back to the club.
Bring the cup back to Coola. And Neil Curran, thank you so much. Olga Cronin, thank you so much. And Johnny Keenan leading us out with a rendition of Danny Boy. Johnny, take it away.
Thanks, John,
for joining us.
Oh, Roche the Baha.